Good morning, guys. Welcome once again to Career Counseling online sessions of Morning Vibes. Doing good, I presume, and staying home, thankfully. Okay, and keeping safe. Well, it's time to talk about uh, the employee perspective, and we all must agree that it is very difficult these days to find the right kind of employees or the right kind of resources to do the job at the right time. It is very difficult to get the resource who can deliver the things the way you want it to be done, whether it's a business or in your regular work also. It is becoming day by day very difficult to get that right resource to do the job right for you. And more than getting the right resource to do the job for you, what is more becoming more significantly difficult in the business world or in professional world is getting to do your current employees or your team members the things in the right way as being expected, making them productive and making them aligned with the organizational requirement or the business requirement. That is becoming day in and day out more difficult. Now, the ancient scriptures, which were written to manage the kingdom or to manage people of the kingdom or the kings, defines, you know, uh, procedures which are aligned to this business world today also. Those can be followed today also uh, to control people's accountability about their job. There are terms like, you know, Shama, Dana, Bheda, and Danda. These four steps of aligning the people to the process or to the organization or to the kingdom is still relevant in the business terms only, right? So how do you make your people accountable as the employer or as a manager or as a director? um, being somebody who has played both the roles, I've been within the team as a member. I've been the team lead. I have been the team manager. I have headed teams. I have seen both the sides. So while employees are becoming more and more resilient to delivering the things which are being expected from them to be delivered, well, many a times I have found that there are points on behalf of the employers which, when taken care of, can make the people accountable. First things first is communicating what is being expected of the employees. Many a times it is, I have many times watched that in bigger projects with sub projects and inner projects and so many process of reporting, so many parameters to follow, so many quality measures to follow. Many a times it happens that the employees gets lost into what exactly is being expected out of them. And the employers or the management needs to sit down with the employees, each employees, and align their deliverables to their skill sets. They need to make it a point to make this point be noted by the employee that these are your key job responsibilities, these are your key responsible areas, and we are expecting these outputs from you because your output is aligned to somebody else output. And with that output, maybe it will act as an input to somebody and they need to work. So you are a part of a bigger process wherein your contribution matters. So what is expected out of that employee needs to be communicated very clearly. And why is it being expected? Just to make the expectation sound logical, a clear analysis of the skill sets and aligning what is being expected with that employee needs to be mentioned, that you have this set of skill sets which will help you deliver this, and this is what is expected of the organization right now in this process. Because with your output, this person who is in the next level of the project will work as a input. Your output will act as an input, so your output needs to be verified, needs to be accounted for. You need to be accounted for the time of deliverables, the average handling time, the AHT that we used to call. AHT needs to be explained. The importance of AHT needs to be explained. Also, many a times I have seen hardly the employees are aware of the SLAs. Hardly the employees have heard about service level agreement which the organization might have signed with their business partners, or the collaborators. So the management knows what is being expected out of them. Its employees in some department is not being very, very clear about the service level agreement or the penalty which is involved in case of a failure of a service level agreement. What are the kind of repercussions which can happen in a process when a certain parameter is not followed? Now, these are the things which are needed to be clearly stated to the employee, clearly mentioned to the employee, and much better, it has to be sent to him in a written format. And also it's recommended that when you make that employee sit with you, write down what are the points which are being expected from him, make him write in his own words, make him write in his own way. That is one way where the employee is completely aware of what is he expected to do. Many a times, the employees goes haywire or tries to copy some other employees because they are not very clear about what is being expected, how to do it, or might be lacking that product knowledge. So you as an employee need to make sure that all these trainings are in place, all this skills upgradation is in place, and that the employee is clearly communicated about what is being expected out of him, because his expectation will matter in the longer run, and he is a part of the process. If he fails, the whole process fails. He needs to be made feel a part of this whole process. Is like a which we call in the business model spoken hub model. So he is a part of this movement, so he is one person who has to be very much accountable in time, in case of his deliverables, in the way of his accuracy and others. So this communication has to happen very clearly, right? Second way to make people accountable are through constant follow-ups, and I would say keeping them informed about a status update which has to be given to the management, a procedure for a follow-up and a reminder in place makes the employee understands the importance, the urgency of the project. They also understand that something bigger is happening and their contribution is a part of it. That is the reason constantly feedback being asked from them, right? Constantly feedback is being asked from them, and they are being accountable, they are being held accountable for what they're doing, because that is one way the employee gets the actual picture, to really understand what is going on. It becomes much difficult for employees who meets their directors or who meets their team leads or managers once in a blue moon, and there is no way he can communicate his challenges or difficulty. So a constant reminder or a follow-up from their team leads or the managers or the management is one way of making the person accountable. Also one way of knowing where the employee is, and if the employee is facing some challenge, it is also one way wherein the employee gets a scope to get back to them and share their experience. So there is much better way to control the damage earlier, earlier, at an early stage, I would say at an early stage, when the management is aware of the difficulty the employees are facing, instead of just getting at the end of the term, getting at the end of the project time, and sitting with a review and recognition part of the process is not going to help, because by that time the damage is already done. The employee might have faced a different issue, might have understood the whole process in a different scenario altogether. He might have delivered, but his deliverables might not be aligned to what the organization is expecting. So a constant reminder or a follow-up from the organization's head is one way wherein the people can be made to feel they are accountable. Third point I would say is talk to your employees. Talk to your employees in terms like, it does not have to be a long 1 hour meeting. It can be a casual hi and hello and just a follow-up. I had the privilege of working with lots of managers with whom there have been months wherein no meetings have been held, no team huddles were done. The only thing is, while we were having coffee, or we were just having lunch, he might ask 1 or 2 questions. So how's the things going? Everything fine? Can we do something, from our side? Or do you need any extra support? Do you need any extra resource? How are things at your end? And that made the communication much more comfortable. That made me feel much more comfortable. And whenever there was a difficulty, I could easily tell to him, what, sir, I face this difficulty while working on this situation. I believe if I can go for this kind of training, let's say I'm not that good with Excel formula calculation. So I remember one such incident when I was in HP, because HP has very, very complex reporting structures, and these reporting structures are made by master black belts in Six Sigma, and those who have worked on this kind of process. So this Excel sheets used to be pretty complex. Honestly speaking, the kind of formula, the permutation combination that was used in Excels, linked with multiple Excels running over to servers, was very difficult. So I tell sir, these Excels are very confusing to me. If it would have much better, because this Excel is for all the group, for all the people who are in the process, but my part is a small part, which if it would have been given to me in a single Excel, it would have been different. Or if I could have made a copy of that and kept for myself, it would have been easy. So I remember I was reporting to Satish sir in HP at that time, and he took time out and he said, Sanjay, I understand these Excels can be pretty complex and can be pretty confusing also sometimes. What I would suggest is, if you can give me an hour or half an hour today, we can sit together and I can show you a couple of things, couple of options in the Excel which you can use just to see your part, and you wouldn't be crowded with others' part. So that way you can focus on that part, and you can update your reports, you can update your inputs. That was very helpful. We sat together for 2 days, and he helped me out with that Excel, and a bit of training made my life so easy. Otherwise I was taking screenshots, I was writing call logs, I was putting it in one folder, I was doing a backup. It was so pretty complex. All that had to be done was these Excel files were running on basically Google Docs, and they were running on a server side on a different platform altogether. So once he gave me that training, my whole process becomes so easy. My time to respond becomes much easier, and I had this mental peace that I along with my work, I'm constantly updating my report, so I don't have to work on the reports later on trying to remember what went right and what went wrong, and putting on a SWOT analysis of the current situation. So that way, when you are talking to your employers coming down to the employee level and making them clearly understand that we are there for you to help you out for any kind of challenge, for any kind of difficulty that you might be facing to deliver that. That gives a lot of confidence to the employees. That makes the employees feels that, well, I am not sitting duck. I am not sitting duck at a target practice ground. I am being given this responsibility, and not only I have the scope to go for further training. If I have a challenge, I can discuss with my manager, with my director, and I can focus absolutely on my deliverables. That way the employees feels much confident and delivers with 100% confidence. Now, you have given the reminder, you have explained as an employer, you have explained to the employee what needs to be done, what is being expected, how to do. You have given the training, you have given the reminders, you have done the follow-ups, and still the employee fails to deliver that. Now, there has to be a fine imposed on that. It cannot be that, in a team, when somebody is performing good, you are rewarding them. But when somebody is not doing good, and somebody is deliberately failing, somebody is not understanding the process, irrespective of the training and everything, if you keep on supporting that employee, it acts as a demotivating factor for the people who are in the team, who are literally putting up a lot of effort. They feel a lot demotivated that when somebody who's not contributing and who's not being up to the par, or not helping in terms of team management or team contribution, but still the guy gets along easy with without being penalized or without being held accountable. When that starts happening, the people who are contributing already, they go complacent. They get into a mode like, okay, so if he can get along with not producing anything, not contributing anything, why the hell should we contribute? Why the hell should we work upon? Because it is a team effort. When we work, maybe out of a team of 10 members, if 4 are working or 5 are working, and if other 5 or other 4 is not contributing, whereas the result is distributed among the team, like the 5 people, so the project fails, all the 10 guys gets a warning letter, all the 10 guys gets a harsh statement, or all the 10 guys gets the show cause. Now that's a part of injustice, because these 5 guys who were working very, very hard, they were literally working for the other 5, because the other 5 were not contributing. So if the management overlooks those other 5 who are not contributing, irrespective of their deliverables being explained, what is being expected is being explained, irrespective of reminders and follow-up, and the supervision is done. There was a constant supervision, there was scope of telling their difficulty, yet these 5 never took the opportunity to come forward and voice out their difficulty or voice out their problems and challenge. And when the problem faced, they are simply playing just along with them only. So when this 10 guys gets the punishment altogether, it acts as a very demotivating factor. So it should be that the 5 people, or the people, or the employee who's not contributing is penalized. Many a times we have seen that the penalty or the kind of action which has to be taken are there in the HR documents, are there in the HR policy, but many a times those are not imposed on the employee. What happens is, the first time the employee gets into the feel of this, second time there is a probability of that being repeated. When this gets repeated twice, I can guarantee you this will be repeated thrice also, because now the employee is taking the whole process for granted. Now the employee is taking the whole organization for granted, and when that starts happening, within the department, it becomes very demotivating for the other people who are working, because of the other guys, their contribution is overlooked, their hard work is overlooked, they are not being recognized. Right? So if you're putting all the apples in one box with 1 or 2 rotten apple, and you call the whole box of apple as rotten, well, that's a kind of injustice, and I can guarantee you that is also one factor which triggers attrition, discontentment, and they feel they are being biased off. They feel that those who have not contributed are not being punished, but when the project fails, we all take the blame together. So why the hell should I work? Why the hell should I take the blame on behalf of somebody else? If I'm working hard, if I'm staying back, if I am contributing, I should be rewarded rather than being punished, right? So the thing is, penalizing the employee who is failing constantly is also one way the management sets this message very strictly to all the employees that you are accountable, you are considered for your productivity, and you have no privilege to take your position for granted. With that note, guys, let me tell you one thing. When the management is working on this part, the employee gets a clear message, right? So both of them are on the same page and they deliver and the business grows. There is no other way for that. The employee is in sync with what the employees are thinking. With that note today, guys, let me leave you with this question. Do you believe that it is much better to tell the employees to do what is being expected, or is it better to leave it up to the employee to figure out how things to do? Maybe we, as we call it, that out of box thinking. Do you believe if we tell the employees what to do, how to do, the out of box thing does not work anymore? With that note today, let me sign off. Take care, and as I always mention, learn, contribute, and evolve.